Good morning. It is day 29 of my 30-day health challenge, and I'm pretty excited being so close to the end. I have a good fasting glucose this morning, 86, which kind of surprises me because last night when I was finishing up day 28's video, I had come home from grocery shopping. I'd put groceries away. While I was out, I tested my blood sugar, and I was at 80 milligrams per deciliter, which is my personal hunger trigger number. But I wasn't hungry. And so I thought, okay, I will go home, put away groceries, and go to bed, and I'll just skip eating. Plus, it was getting late. Well, when I got home and I was putting away groceries, I was slammed with hunger, really hard. I tested my glucose. I could have just gone ahead and eaten because I had reached my personal hunger trigger. But I tested my glucose and it had risen to 85. Yes, it had risen up to 85. And so I cooked up some soft-boiled eggs and I ate those. And then I kept eating. What did I eat here? Let me think. I remember now. I finished up some leftover quinoa that was in the refrigerator. I had that with some milk and sugar, like a cereal, a cold cereal. And then I also had a slice of sprouted whole grain bread with honey and peanut butter. That was energy dense. So I was over hungry, I guess, after only having the protein shake in the morning. Though I'd been comfortable all day long, I guess I wasn't paying close enough that there were some slight background signals that I probably should have listened to, and I was getting over pushy on trying to make that goal of trying to get back to 136, my 1984 wedding weight. That is my sort of ideal weight to be at or under. And so I had that slice of bread with the honey and peanut butter and stood at the sink and ate it like my husband would do. It was a very visceral experience. Then I cleaned up and brushed my teeth and went to bed. And I was surprised to wake up this morning with that 86 blood sugar. I was even more surprised to get on the bathroom scale, and my weight was 137.2. That's the lowest weight that I've been in this 30-day challenge of mine. The last, let's see, I did reach 137.4 on August 8th. Today is August 12th. But then I bounced back up a pound and stayed there. I've reported my weight every day of this challenge, I'm pretty sure. And I began at 144.4. So 144.4 subtract 137.2, that's a 7.2 pound loss in the 29 days. And so let's just divide it by 4. Divide by 4. That's 1.8 pounds per week. That's really good. Which is interesting to me because it hasn't felt like it was fast. Well, there were a couple times when I thought, okay, slow it down. You are pushing too hard. But I was just using the app and really paying attention to what my trigger is, as it's lowered, going after the trigger, waiting until I get closer to that personal hunger trigger, and also paying attention to what energy sources I'm using. And, not always putting both energy sources together, which is interesting to me. I guess I was bringing them together much more often than I realized because I could, and I wasn't, climbing high on the bathroom scale. I was only up 10 pounds more than I really wanted to be. So anyway, it's been good to share these daily videos because it's making me more mindful of how I'm doing things, and it is bringing me closer to my 136 goal weight. I do want to be between 132 and 136, so I have sort of a bit of wiggle room, because it's easy to change a pound or two in a day. Easy to go up or down 1, 2, even 4 pounds in a day, depending on how our body reacts to when we eat and how much we eat and what combinations we eat, whether we're focusing on protein, getting enough protein or not, whether we're using too much of one or both energy sources, and whether or not they're whole food energy sources. The junkier, the more processed the energy source, the more my body seems to struggle with taking off that, getting back to, a good glucose after that. My blood pressure reading was also good this morning. It was 113/63. I really like being back down to that range of about 110/60 or 110/70. And that was also one of the things I wanted to do with taking off that 10 pounds and going backwards again. Today was one of the days that we were supposed to be in Florida. Our trip was unexpectedly pulled out from under us yesterday when, during the night, American Airlines notified us that our trip had been canceled. The flight had been canceled, and that they were booking us on a flight today. And instead of flying into Fort Lauderdale, they were going to send us into Orlando. We were going to have to wait 3 hours and still not get to Fort Lauderdale. We were only going to get to Miami. That's an hour away from our kids' home. We didn't want them to have to be driving late at night with a little one and messing up with his schedule. It was shortchanging us all by a day, and it just was maddening. So anyway, my husband has rebooked a flight for us for later in this month, and we'll try again to get to Florida without any hiccups and hope we can get back without any hiccups. And then I suppose the good thing is I won't be worrying about being faithful to record the challenge. So tomorrow will be my last day of recording. Today, my husband will be coming home partway through the day, and we will share our main meal together in the middle of the day. What else am I looking forward to today? Well, I'll just stop this morning segment, and then I'll pick up later with what I put together for lunch for us, share that, and anything else that comes to mind throughout the day. And then I'll close up tonight with a little clip from the library study room that is also his office. This is the meal that I get to share with my husband. He came home for lunch, and instead of him eating out of the lunchbox, I opened it up and set things out so we could sit down to a nice meal together. These are artichoke hearts done in the air fryer. I took a still picture so that I could just go ahead and explain about it later after I sat down for lunch with him and not make him wait while I videoed and explained it to you. This is a salad made with spring greens. I added in chickpeas, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, grape tomatoes, very thinly sliced cucumber, and there are 6 eggs that were chopped into the salad. So if you divide it in half, I have 3 eggs sitting in that salad in addition to the 2 eggs that are cut into halves as a side garnish to the salad. So each of us got the equivalent of about 5 eggs for our protein in the meal. I also have dusted the salad with nutritional yeast, My salad was dressed with I drizzled on raw apple cider vinegar, some MCT oil, maybe a tablespoon, and some balsamic glaze that I buy from Trader Joe's. I also sprinkled on salt and pepper and oregano, dried oregano. We shared plates of artichoke hearts that I dusted with garlic powder, onion powder, and Parmesan. I wet them first so that stuff, the dry stuff, would cling to it by using some egg whites from a carton, and then they were wet enough that I could go ahead and put on the garlic powder, onion powder, and Parmesan. I cooked them in the air fryer on 400 degrees for about 15 minutes, I think. I just looked at them to watch that they didn't get too brown, but I definitely wanted them browned. We each have a little side dish of Brazil nuts for selenium. Selenium information will be in the description box. And you can't see in this picture, but there's out of the shot, there's a plate of sliced red peppers for extra nutrition. So we enjoyed a nice lunch together. I was thinking that after lunch I might serve this cinnabon cake for dessert, but it's still sitting on the stovetop, and for whatever reason I haven't decided to indulge yet. I did use some allulose sugar to replace some of the allulose sweetener to replace some of the regular white sugar. Other than that, this has nothing to do with Trim Healthy Mama, nor with separating energy sources of fats or carbs. It's definitely a clash of fats and carbs. I'm not sure when I will indulge and eat it, but it's sitting on the stovetop, and at some point I will go ahead and have some. But before I have it, I'm going to use Jessie Inchalspay's little glucose hack. I will drink a glass of water with some vinegar in it, sweetened with just a little bit of stevia, and that will help my glucose as my body deals with that sweet treat. You can read about Jessie's hacks in the description box. I have links for you. It's the end of the day, end of day 29 of my 30-day health challenge. So tomorrow will be the very last video in this series. And I don't know if I'll ever do another series again, but I'm glad that I've completed this one. Glad I've followed through. I just took my blood sugar. It was 91, and the previous one was 96. And then my my pre-meal glucose that I took before I ate that lunch meal with my husband was 83, 3 points above my personal hunger trigger. But he was more important than my waiting to get to a personal hunger trigger. So my two post-meal readings that I got were the 96 and the 91. So I'm going to bed with a glucose of 91, and I didn't eat the cinnabon cake that will be linked in the description box, but our son came downstairs and he saw it sitting on the stovetop, and he said, "Can I have a piece of that?" So I said yes, he could, and I served him up a nice generous square. I cut the 9 by 12 or 9 by 13 pan into 12 pieces, and he just was oohing and awing over it, saying how good it was. So I'm looking forward to enjoying it tomorrow. I will probably go ahead and break fast early in the morning. I will start with plenty of protein. I will have the glass of water with some vinegar in it, sweetened with a little stevia as the glucose buffering trick from Jessie Inchalspay, and then I will enjoy one of those pieces, maybe 2, of that cinnabon cake. I looked at the app before I sat down to record, and it has refreshed, so there is a new daily lesson on there. And the question is, should I eat less protein if I have diabetes? So I'm clicking that open, and it's a short little blurb. Some people mistakenly try to achieve perfectly flat-lined blood glucose by reducing carbohydrates and even protein. Unfortunately, this often ends in overeating low satiety, nutrient-poor, high-fat foods, which leads to increased energy intake, weight gain, and insulin resistance. That reminds me, I'm not going to finish reading this blurb. I'm going to interrupt it for a second because I have something saved on insulin resistance and too much fat in the diet. Just a second. I have 2 pieces of brief information on insulin resistance being connected to a low carbohydrate diet. So it says that insulin resistance is caused by the accumulation of excess dietary fat in tissues that are not designed to store large quantities of fat. And from Chris Kresser, and I'll link this article in the description box, but it says low carb diets induce insulin resistance. That's a very flat out statement. It says restricting carbohydrates produces a natural drop in insulin levels, which people want, which in turn activates hormone-sensitive lipase. Fat tissue is then broken down, and non-esterified fatty acids, otherwise known as free fatty acids, or they're also known as NEFA, which is that abbreviation of non-esterified fatty acids. They are released into the bloodstream. These NEFAs are taken up by the muscles, which use them as fuel. And since the muscle's needs for fuel has been met, it decreases sensitivity to insulin, which means it increases insulin resistance. And like I said, I will link this article in the description box. So basically, sticking with just a low-carb diet can have the effect of making you insulin resistant. To stay insulin sensitive, you want to have carbohydrates in your diet. And so that you don't gain weight, you can alternate between fueling with fats or fueling with carbs. And that's how you avoid gaining weight, is keep the fuels on, in separate playing fields or separate meals, so to speak. All right, I'm continuing on with reading the app information about the question, should I eat less protein if I have diabetes? So the answer goes on. More dietary protein will be converted to glucose if you are insulin resistant and have elevated blood glucose. The net result is that you will have less protein available for muscle protein synthesis. To make up for the protein lost to glucose, your appetite will increase and you will consume extra energy to get the protein you need. I'll say something about that in a minute. For this reason, it is crucial for people with type 2 diabetes or any degree of insulin resistance to prioritize dietary protein. So the thought I had while I was reading that is that I think of this phrase, I came up with this in my brain, food foraging. I have finally realized from Marty's teaching and other things that I've been reading about the need for protein the older you get. If you're not getting your protein needs met, then your brain is going to send you signals to go find more food because it needs the protein. But in the process of eating more food to get more protein, you're also ending up usually taking in more energy than you need, more fats or more carbs. So the trick is to sort out what your protein sources are, lean more heavily on your lean protein sources like chicken breast, white fish, shrimp, tuna, egg whites. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I have, I keep a list for myself to remind myself of, 0% fat Greek yogurt, low-fat cottage cheese. Now, you don't need to always eat that. If you're choosing to fuel with fats, you can go ahead and have the proteins that come with the included fats in them, like dark chicken meat, the thighs, the legs. Of course, you can use the beef that has fat in it. But in order to get your protein needs met, you also need to be aware of what are the lean protein sources so you can get plenty of that in. And then the next need your body has are nutrients. And that's going to be met by lots of leafy greens and non-starchy veggies. If you're in the Trim Healthy Mama camp, you usually get pretty good at identifying all the options for non-starchy veggies and lean proteins, because those things are used in the fuel pull category of Trim Healthy Mama meals. Okay, so I've shared the updated daily lesson. My glucose going to bed is 91. I was able to not have any siren call to the Cinnabon cake. So that's easy for me to delay that until tomorrow. And tomorrow is the last day of my 30-day challenge. So there we go. It's been a pretty good day. And we got to have a nice video call with our daughter's family in Florida, the ones that we didn't get to go see this weekend. We'll see them soon, though. That's the end of day 29 of my 30-day health challenge. Good night.